Alright, welcome back to the IEM qualifiers. My sincerest apologies about that Zanster versus Cost series, guys. But we found ourselves in another new one, so we may have had a hiccup there, but we're back in action and it's PvP, and this is not going to be a lame PvP, I don't think. I don't think it's going to be like a lot of 3-gate aggression or anything like that, but probably Blink Stalkers, Colossus aplenty. We'll see how this plays out. For now, though, spawning in the bottom right corner of the map, it's going to be the Red Zerg player from Mouse Sports, HasuObs. And his opponent's in the top right-ish middle part of the map from Team Planety, the Green Protoss, Gungfubanda. And just a small shout out there, so I will have to, I guess, go wrestle with Steam afterwards, as normally I try not to let this overlay the game, but Imperium just subbed to the channel. He also just gave us our last sub we needed to instigate a giveaway after the broadcast. So Imperium, thank you kindly for your support. Guys, we'll handle the giveaway after all games are concluded today. So if you want to use your Partoofs, cash in, and get a chance at a Steam giveaway, chances are it'll be Bioshock Infinite or something like that. You can stick around after the broadcast, and we'll handle it there. But focusing on the game at hand, this is a 3-player spawn map. Catalina's one we're not seeing a lot of, but this is a map where I think a lot of cool things can come into effect, namely the fact that Colossus could be a real asinine pain on this map. I mean, there's so many good positions where you could really abuse them, where bases will be more difficult to take. Blink Stalkers could be an issue as well. It all depends on the tech path these guys choose. And I think PvP, you take 2 players who are kind of like, whatever, the ladder heroes, yeah, it's a coin flip 9 times out of 10. Sometimes you just win through tech choices and build order alone. But when you've got pros like this, you know, just because you go, say, with an Oracle opening versus a Blink Stalker opening, doesn't mean you're out of the game. But it does mean that you're going to have that sort of elongated, I guess, match leading into the rest of how it plays out. So, I mean, a lot of the time, we're seeing Stalkers in the game early. Usually this is because it abruptly catches someone off guard. It's something that can end the game, sure, in PvP, but usually doesn't. Combination overcharge, good force field usage on a ramp, like 1 force field to keep infinite Stalkers out. So we'll see how this plays out. Now, Gungfubanda, I was giving him some praise earlier. His PvZ he played earlier today was fantastic. It was on point. He played the macro game. He did not rely on a lot of cheese like we're used to seeing him do. But in PvP, the element of cheese, the element of going for those all-ins can actually be your strength. They'll be in your favor a lot of the time. Because, well, it's not coin flippy. It is still a very hard matchup where if you lose a single unit, it could get rough quickly. But as if I am a Oracle of my own, we're going to have a Stargate opener versus what is potentially Blink Stalkers. It could be Dark Templar, but my thoughts, you know, since I'm on a roll here, I'm just going to say no, it's not even Dark Templar. It's going to be Blink. Now, in before, it's Dark Templar versus Phoenix, but still. This is what I was talking about with proxy locations on this map, guys. Whether you do it here, or whether you do it over here. The niche is the fact that these are very open spaces by air. There's a lot of ways in and out of this main base. It's going to be very difficult to chase an Oracle around if that's the case. And it is Blink coming out of HasuObs. Now, HasuObs, you know, I always kind of cover it. Like, there's a blanket statement I'll say in PvP where I think Blink is a great opener. I think Blink can hold off against most generic openers, whether it's an Immortal, DT, as long as you're looking at timings, of course, for the DT specifically, but Blink Stalkers are a good, safe bet. They're the one strategy that's going to cover all, sort of. They're not going to give you a distinctive edge most of the time, but they will be able to chase off this Oracle. The Mothership Core can also throw it on the Overcharge if it sees it coming in time. But it's so far away and it's so slow. I don't know. It's got to be kind of already over top of the Nexus if he really wants to push this back, rather. But the Robo Facility comes down. Could possibly be getting Immortals behind this. A great unit to bust an opposing Protoss player. But the Oracle does not need to die. What ends up happening a lot of the time, though, is with the combination Overcharge, the reach of it, the length of it, the duration of it, it can sometimes snipe off this Oracle. And if you kill this Oracle right away, you're in such a comfortable spot moving forward, because you know your opponent's wasted their tech choice. But Gungfubanda gets in here, picks up 2 probes, 3 probes. See how many he gets in total. Gets 3 and tries to get out of there. Does escape with the life of the Oracle. This is really important, guys, because oftentimes the threat of an Oracle is actually way more dangerous than the actual Oracle, having to possibly leave 3 Stalkers in your middle line at any given time. But HasuObs saying no. My Mothership Core, it's got another Overcharge coming soon. The Oracle should not end my life. I'm just going to go for the counterattack. And right now, he's got Blink over his opponent, which is huge. There's no force field on this ramp. And I believe, if I'm not mistaken, there should be an Observer on the way, if not already out. Oh, he's building it, okay. So yeah, Stalker's warped into the mineral line defensively. HasuObs cannot afford to completely negate his mineral line. If he ignores it for a second, that Oracle can kill every single probe. But on the other side of the field, he's got so many Stalkers. The count, of course, is going to be 5 to 9, but it's actually 5 to 7 because there's more Stalkers at home for HasuObs. But as these Stalkers start running out of shields, they'll blink backwards. They can regenerate the shields, of course. I think it's like 10 seconds out of combat before they start regenerating, or 4 seconds, or math, numbers, whatever. Oracle going back for round 2. There's still 3 Stalkers here on patrol. This is not going to get a lot of damage done. But Stalkers also can't really deal with an Oracle too easily, which is a bit frustrating. Well, I did bait out the overcharge of his opponent. He hasn't really seen what's going on for Gungfubanda. He will find out here in a moment's time that it is also Blink when he sees that Robo, or not the Robo, the Twilight Council here in the back. Yeah, there we go. He sees it. Also, no Observer coming out of Gungfubanda, actually going straight to an Immortal. This makes a lot of sense because as far as he's aware, there's a ton of Stalkers still outside of his base, waiting to aggressively push up here, catch his opponent off guard. Stalker's actually going back home will reveal, okay, it's actually safe to expand. We may see that come out of both players. PvP expansions are really funny. In TVT and ZVZ, you know that you can take expansions earlier on without a lot of repercussions, but just based on the way Protoss units are structured, you know, they're very expensive units. If you lose one, it's more costly than losing a Marine. It's more costly than losing a Zergling type thing. So to lose a Stalker can sometimes spiral the game out of control, which makes taking a Nexus that costs 400 minerals very dangerous. But coming up around the 9-minute mark, both players slap it down. No one's going to have a distinctive lead going forward, but I do like HasuObs' position a little bit better because he's got more Stalkers. Not by a lot, but he's got more Stalkers. He's just got one Probo for his opponent, but you know, whoop-de-doo. Gungfubanda, though, if we can give him credit, where credit's due, he has managed to hold on pretty nicely, losing a Stargate, losing a whole tech path. The other Observer gets sniped off pretty nicely, too. Both plays with Blink getting revealed at this point. Gungfubanda snipes forward and catches one Stalker. Revelation tags are going to be constantly going down as long as the Oracle has energy for it. What this is going to do is give him the eyes on his opponent's base at all given times, which is really nice. If you can hit your opponent's army with it, so much the better. But HasuObs is going to start finding a way to get ahead in this game. And it's not through massive amounts of Immortals. It's not by rushing to Colossus. It is, in fact, by going for the Forge to get those upgrades. PvP's a volatile matchup, guys. Stalkers hit hard. Everything is pretty much armored in this matchup, so 14 damage from them, 50 from Immortals. I mean, it's not easy dealing with this, but Banda, that name, Gungfubanda, on point, also following up with his own Forge. So, kind of curious if they'll both go for weapon upgrades. I don't think we're going to see armor. Armor is usually something that comes much later down the line, as the sort of explosive intensity, there we go, of weapons is a little more important. You know, being able to 3-shot your opponent instead of 4-shot him, you know, use a full Stalker volley to kill a Colossus type thing, whatever the case may be. The nice sort of niche too with the Stalkers, guys, they get the focus right now, so do the Immortals, but really later on, things like War Prisms and Zealots, Colossus, they kind of become the real focus of the army. So both players actually have a really nice composition going right now. Immortals, Sentries for the Force Field, some Guardian Shields mixed in. Quite frankly, this is about as mirrored as it would get. It's a bit odd to me that Gungfubanda could waste the money on the Oracle, quote-unquote, waste the money on the Stargate in the pylon and still catch up, but really well handled out of him, truthfully. Gateway counts at 3. We are going to see Colossus start coming out of HasuObs a little bit sooner than that of, a little bit later than that of Gungfubanda, but, you know, Colossus counts this close, it's fine. You know, being shy of one Colossus, not that big of a deal. But if you find yourself down, like, you know, 1 Colossus to 5, one of the things that we see a lot rarer in PvPs, but one thing that becomes hilarious to watch is when Tempests get involved. Tempests are so good at sniping off Colossus from afar, and there's been some games like, oh gosh, I wish I could remember who he was playing against. Last season, Todd on Overgrowth had like a hour-long PvP that was Tempest versus Tempest. You know, both players ducking in with Oracles, neither player able to engage. It can really spiral this game out of control in a very disgusting yet incredibly somehow pleasing way. But this is a big, bold move out of Gungfubanda. This is huge. Taking a 3rd base is a very good way to get ahead in this game, in this matchup, if he can hold on to it. I don't think this has been scouted, though. HasuObs has no idea the 3rd base is coming down. Both players focusing on an army, but Gungfubanda, yeah, if he's able to produce an extra Colossus at a time, if he can afford 2 Robos, if he can warp in a whole extra Zealot over his opponent, again, even in the late game for PvP, 1 unit can be the world of difference. You know, that 1 Immortal dying early versus later, Stalker blinking into the right spot at the right time. I really want to see a Warp Prism. I mean, when it comes down to the crazy Colossus wars, the core of it really is those Colossus are protected, and the Zealots just kind of melt as they hold each other in place. But one of my favorite moves to watch, and this is like, of all matchups, TVZ is my favorite matchup, sure, but my favorite move in StarCraft 2 comes from PvP. And that's when you take the Warp Prism, sit it right behind your opponent's line, warp in Zealots from behind, or some players are really bold, they'll warp the Zealots right directly on top of the Colossus. And when that happens, Zealot damage can never be underestimated. Zealot damage is seriously insanely high. The problem is they're melee, even with charge they're relatively slow, and they get caught off guard pretty easily in clumps, so Colossus usually deal with them, but we'll see if that comes into effect or not. We do have charge coming out of Gungfubanda. Is the only reason I'm considering this could be a possibility. But HasuObs not too late to taking his own third. Did scout his opponents, recognizing that he needed to take this. Kind of the necessity to respond. But Templar Archives out of HasuObs also coming down. Some, not probably Storms guys. I think Puck is the only player I see use Storms in PvP out across all regions. So probably Archons if nothing else. But this actually is a really cool thing. With hallucinations, we've been seeing some players like Crank do. Crank's been doing this really awesome thing. Granted, this is kind of the late timing for it. It wouldn't be the same situation now, but warping in, hallucinating a ton of Archons. Okay, we all know the benefits of it just being a big soak, you know? Those fake shields eating a lot of hits, but also, if you've got an observer in your army and you see the hallucinations, your units will not auto-attack the hallucinations. And one thing that happened for Crank really fantastically that always gets me excited is the Zealots tried to walk past but couldn't. Whoa, double Templar Archives coming down? This is a mistake out of Gungfubanda. Getting ahead in a lot of ways and sets himself back. But yeah, Archons are plenty for both. Stalkers are going to try and walk around this. There's a lot of Stalkers from his opponent too, though. Knowing that there's an imminent attack coming. It's 3 Colossus to 2 at the moment, now 3 to 3. There's layers when it comes to this, guys. And the layers for both players are kind of incomplete. No one really has that frontal layer of the Zealots they're supposed to collide. It's just going to be Archons on the front line here for HasuObs. Archon. Oh, no, they're just doing it. But an awkward location here on the cliff. He knows he can't engage because he can't walk up the side of that. This is actually a fantastic start for Gungfubanda. And just getting that one volley off strips so many of these shields. HasuObs in a very awkward spot. Zealot's just going to charge into the natural mineral line while the army actually fights out here in the open. Colossus fighting Colossus. Colossus shooting Zealots though instead of other Colossus. Stalkers blink around to the left side and try and get on top of this, but Gungfubanda with 4 Colossus still standing. The Immortals giving chase, but the Time Warp has been slapped down from both players. Oh, no, never mind. That's the one from his opponent. Zealots, though, got that mineral line, guys. 22 probes die in this, and for HasuObs, that's a really hard hit to take. PvP, your economy is very delicate. Gungfubanda has a huge bank, and HasuObs, quite frankly, just looks really behind right now. This is looking rough for our Red Protoss player from Mouse Sports. HasuObs, he's currently those level 3 weapon upgrades. Still have that over his opponents. But level 1 weapon upgrades on 2 Colossus doesn't cut it on level 2 weapon upgrades on 3 Colossus, 4 Colossus, 5 Colossus, etc. Zealot's also going to look to run by here towards this base. There's a cannon. Couple Zealots coming in, but that was the biggest thing from Gungfubanda, guys. Like, I really think that could have started to spell the end. It's so far from over, but that was a huge lead to get. You know, we see the income reflected over here. It's more about the gas than anything else, because Protoss units are very gas heavy. Whether you're taking Colossus, whether you're taking Archons into the mix. But Gungfubanda, standing strong, standing tall. HasuObs throwing down a second robo facility. It is too late to go to the Tempest tech that I had alluded to earlier, but the layers for Gungfubanda are looking much better. There's a lot of Archons, there's a lot of Zealots in there. HasuObs doesn't have a lot of firepower behind this. In other scenarios where there's no Archons, those Immortals are fantastic. They're the DPS you need, but they're not really going to come into effect, and I highly doubt they're going to be dancing and diving through the army to target fire down those Colossus. No, they're going to be wasting shots on the Zealots, wasting shots on the Archons. But sneaky pylon up here. I didn't catch that. Neither did Gungfubanda. So potentially what just happened to him may happen to Gungfubanda if he can get enough Zealots warped in over there. But the problem is there's a very delicate army balance, and if he doesn't have enough layers in this army to protect those Colossus, this is actually, you know what, I don't think he can afford this run by. He either has to go now so he can warp in defensively at home, or he might be in way too much trouble. This is really scary. He's got the pylon on the front line, so he's going to have closer reinforcements than that of his opponent. It's 8 offensive 5. Segmenting off, once again, Gungfubanda goes for an attack on that third base. Colossus are going to get involved for both players, but there's more here for Gungfubanda. We'll see if the Immortals can reign supreme, but backing away from this HasuObs, dancing left, dancing right, trying to micro his units absolutely perfectly, but his front lines are broken. Zealots cannot get through that time warp despite their charge ability, and there's too many Colossus here for Gungfubanda. Counterattack went off, great, fantastic, but as stated before, I think he may have dedicated one too many units. His third base gutted alive, and this is looking like it's going to be Gungfubanda's game, guys. With lasers aplenty, pew pew, GG. Gungfubanda will take game number 1 in this PvP. Or, I meant best of 3, but, PvP rhymes, so that's close enough. Question mark.